You want reality TV? Follow us as we show you the side of police chase videos you normally don't see. Wild arrests, kamikaze crooks, and some of the most intense moments caught on video. Next on Hot Pursuit. It's amazing that criminals would resort to jumping out of a moving vehicle in order to avoid getting caught by police. Forget about the danger involved, it clearly defies all common sense. Nevertheless, crooks on the run attempt the same stunt time and time again. Watch these car thieves as their stunt goes horribly wrong. Realizing there's a dead end ahead, they decide to bail out of their stolen vehicle without stopping at first. In slow motion, it's clear that this guy has been practicing his exit strategy. Unfortunately, the female passenger doesn't see what's coming. Luckily, her close encounter with the telephone pole looks a lot worse than it really is, and she gets away with only a handful of cuts and bruises. We know it's foolish to get out of a car while it's still moving, but the opposite is also true, as this footage of a Florida traffic stop is about to prove. Let's see that again. After being pulled over for a traffic violation, the guy driving this truck looks like he's going to give himself up. But then he seems to change his mind. And instead, he decides to play a little trick on the arresting officer. The runaway's passenger, however, is obviously not down with the crazy getaway plan. So as the cop tries to get in, the man leaps out. He appears to throw his hands in the air, giving himself up. But check out his reaction when he realizes there's nobody around. The police have been on the tail of this Cadillac since it sped straight through a stop sign earlier. He may have been in a rush home, or maybe just wants to take police on a wild chase. Either way, his escape attempt brings new meaning to the term rush hour. As he speeds on the highway, it becomes clear that this suspect is an experienced driver. Seems like he's wasting his time violating traffic laws when he could be making a lot of money as a Hollywood stunt driver. He knows all the maneuvers, like weaving through traffic with only inches to spare, taking corners at impossible speeds, and even performing stunt jumps. But as he continues in his quest for freedom, he begins to lose control of the car. And this last stunt, while unintentional, is definitely his most spectacular. We're guessing that even the suspect didn't expect to walk away from this one. But by some miracle, he does, only to get taken down by the cops and carted off to jail moments later. This guy looked like he might get away, but he forgot one very important thing: to strap on his seatbelt. And he ends up providing us with a painful reminder of why it's so important to buckle up. When a police car is involved in a high-speed vehicle pursuit, it's usually a good idea to try and stay out of its way. And by staying out of its way, we mean not driving your car directly into its path, as this usually has devastating consequences for everyone involved. Luckily, in this case, no one was injured, but neither of these vehicles will be back on the road again anytime soon. Unfortunately, the speeding truck that the cop was chasing before his head-on encounter managed to get away. Next on Hot Pursuit, it's time for police to bring out the stinger and an odd pursuit on the streets of Texas.
Okay, get off the hook. Stop.
When all else has failed and police are no longer interested in continuing a dangerous pursuit, they turn to the infamous stinger spikes to stop suspects. But how does this mysterious weapon actually work? The stinger, or spike stick, is usually deployed by an officer standing at the side of the road. In this example, the police have a stinger cop in position, waiting down the street for the criminal to appear. The stinger itself is a strip of very sharp spikes, which is rolled out onto the road in front of the suspect's vehicle, instantly blowing out his tires.
Stop, six are out. We got to stop. Signal forward. Big time signal forward.
Here, the runaway is brought crashing down. Unfortunately, 2 other passing motorists have felt the sting as well and have no idea what the heck just happened. Fortunately, justice has been served, and a dangerous criminal is off the streets. It turns out that the suspect in this case was guilty of disturbing the peace, and thanks to the stinger, he won't be driving again anytime soon. Over in Texas, the men in blue encounter a local cowboy who's drunk atop his horse.
I'm asking you to get off the horse. I've asked you several times. If you don't get off the horse, we're going to take you off the horse. And then you're going to go to jail.
But the man continues to ride down the highway. Policemen pursue the mounted man just as they would normally, except that in this instance, they're not dealing with a vehicle. They obviously can't use the stinger in fear of seriously hurting the horse. And they're definitely not going to ram the horse off the road. There's just nothing in the 21st century police officer's handbook about how to deal with horse-based incidents. So, with all standard procedure ruled out, the cops resort to sternly telling the man to stop.
Okay, get off the horse. Stop.
Predictably, this approach doesn't have much effect, so one of the officers gets out of his cruiser and runs after the horseman with a can of mace in his hand. He catches up with the suspect and pepper sprays the horse. Little do police know, horses are completely immune to the effects of weapons like mace and tear gas. Criminals aren't, though, so when the drunk guy gets pepper sprayed, he ends up falling off his ride. The cops move in to handcuff him, and the horse is led away safe and sound. This car here has suffered a blowout on this extremely icy Ohio highway. The woman driver, seen here with her hands in the air, is glad that the police officer has come to assist her in her time of need. But little does she know that danger is right around the corner. The officer first takes a look at the car to make sure that the tire is the only problem. He then proceeds to inform the woman about the importance of checking her tires regularly. Watch carefully as the lady pays attention to the cop's advice. She completely fails to notice that another driver was on a path that could have killed her. Thankfully, the cop manages to save her from certain death in a nick of time. And for this feat, he's later given the Superintendent's Citation Award of Merit for Bravery. Coming up on Hot Pursuit, drinking and driving creates a daredevil. And this speedster finds himself in the pole position.
105 North Avenue, 52.
When they aren't getting a hard time from drunk drivers and dangerous criminals, cops can often be found winning new friends and influencing people around the community. This helpful officer, for example, has decided to pull over the woman ahead to tell her that her inspection sticker has expired. Naturally, the lady is keen to show him her gratitude.
Why am I pulling you over, ma'am? Your inspection sticker is expired. Can I see your driver's license, please?
Oh, here you go. Just make me a little later to work.
Okay.
Looks like someone got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning.
Have you had very many or any other tickets in the last 5 years?
Do what?
Have you had very many or any other
I have
tickets?
Not. No.
You haven't? Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
God.
Ma'am, I'll
This
be back in just a
predictably
few
turns
minutes,
out
okay?
to be a lie.
Wait right there.
Great. Thank you.
Stay where it's warm.
When the officer goes back to his car to run the check, it turns out that she's received nearly 25 tickets for various driving offenses over the years and has been involved in no fewer than 4 accidents. No wonder she has such a problem with authority.
Okay, ma'am, here's your license and your insurance back.
Thank you so much. And you know what?
Have you got a phone number, ma'am?
Oh, sure. 758. Are you going to call and prank call me?
No.
Oh, really? What a surprise. You know, I wonder how it feels giving people tickets for nothing else.
Okay, ma'am, let me explain something to you.
What?
But the cop remains patient and manages to keep us cool, even when the woman has completely lost hers.
What a job in life.
Once he's issued the woman's ticket, the patrolman quickly wraps up the
Have
formalities.
any questions? The number for the court clerk is on the back.
Oh, thank you.
The court date is the 16th day of April.
And it's fairly safe to assume that this woman isn't too happy about what's just happened.
Why do I get these?
Some people just don't react very well to being stopped by the police.
What are you pulling me over?
But given this woman's track record,
That's none of your business.
you'd think she'd be just a little more used to it by now.
Why do I get these?
Maybe somebody should have told these 2 Dallas bank robbers that using a flashy banana yellow sports car as a getaway vehicle might make them look a little conspicuous, particularly from the vantage point of a police helicopter. Whichever way they turn, the chopper keeps a watchful eye on them from above. Finally, the 2 crooks have the good sense to ditch their ride. Their latest escape plan seems to involve blending in with the crowds of a local shopping mall. Or maybe they intend to spend some of their newly acquired cash. But unfortunately for the young robbers, this mall just happens to be crawling with police. And it's not long before the fugitives find themselves nabbed by the cops. These dumb criminals made some pretty silly choices. They chose the brightest car color available. Then they ditched the car, ran into a shopping mall, and bought themselves a one-way ticket straight to jail. Watch as this bank robber, being chased by police, starts shooting at them. These cops quickly go for cover to avoid being shot or killed. But one brave female officer, Officer Bellis, decides to chase the armed man down in her cruiser. She spots his getaway vehicle at this junction here. But unfortunately, the robber also sees her police car and immediately starts shooting at it. For a moment, it's not clear what's happened to Officer Bellis. In fact, she's actually gotten out of her vehicle while it was still moving. But she's no dummy. She uses her car as a moving shield. And from the looks of it, the cruiser actually saves her life. The fearless female officer then heads off in pursuit of her assailant. And as we can see from this footage, one of her shots hits the robber and takes him down. While other officers run for cover, Officer Bellis shows her bravery. And after the armed robber tries to shoot her down, Bellis takes him out with a bullet of her own. In Indiana, a traffic offender's getaway goes dangerously wrong. The man uses the age-old trick of pretending to pull over for the cops, only to suddenly peel out of the parking lot and down the road. The trooper in the car behind struggles to keep up as the fugitive disappears into the distance. It looks like he might have gotten away. But there's an obvious flaw in this guy's escape plan. It seems his getaway route takes him headfirst into the path of a telephone pole at around 100 miles per hour. The collision brings the wires down, sending up a shower of sparks. Once the fireworks are over, the pursuing officer assesses the situation. He's got his gun ready just in case, but at this point, he probably won't need it. The driver of the wrecked vehicle is lucky to be alive. We seriously doubt he'll put up a fight. This race got off to a fascinating start, but when the reckless runaway takes the wrong route, it's all over in a flash. Next on Hot Pursuit, enormous amounts of alcohol encouraged this lady to do some off-roading.
105 North Avenue, 52.
Police work can be unpredictable, to say the least. Take this encounter between a Kansas cop and a woman who has parked her car on a bridge. Everything seems to be going well. The officer talks her through the local traffic laws, but the woman doesn't seem very interested. It looks as if she might just drive away, but then she changes her mind. The cop makes a desperate grab for her, but it's too late. She goes over the edge and appears to take the officer down with her. For a moment, it isn't clear what's happened to either of them, but somehow the cop managed to hold on to the ledge. It takes two of his colleagues to bring him to safety, but the woman wasn't so lucky. Despite the policeman's best efforts, she slipped through his fingers and fell to the ground below. Miraculously, she managed to survive the 35-foot tumble with only minor injuries. Looking back on it, the officer probably wishes he'd stopped her when he had the chance. Instead, the situation went over the top and nearly killed people in the process. We're in Wisconsin, where police have received a 911 call regarding a potentially suicidal person. The officers in this squad car have positively ID'd the person's vehicle ahead and follow it onto the Green Bay Bridge. The cops try to pull the driver over before she can do any harm to herself, and for a moment, it looks like she's yielding to their requests. But instead of giving herself up to police custody, she walks over to the bridge wall. The pursuing officer makes a lunge for her at the same split second that she jumps. And seen here in slow motion, the trooper just manages to grab hold of her. As he waits for assistance, the cop tries to pull the lady out of danger on his own. But this woman's down and out and is intent on ending it all now. She struggles against the officer's attempts to save her life. It's not until two more officers join in the effort that she's brought back over the side of the bridge to safety. This time, the cop managed to hold on as she tried to break free, and it's lucky he did, too, because there's no way that she would have survived the 200-foot drop into the river below. The late shift often provides the most interesting incidents for traffic cops, like this woman veering her vehicle into the left-hand lane. It's a good possibility that this woman is very, very drunk. And from the way she launches her car into the air as she goes over this railroad crossing, it's practically a certainty. At this point, not only is she a danger to herself, but also to everyone else on the road. Watch carefully as the next intersection provides the police with some assistance. Instead of turning left or right at this T-junction, the woman manages to miss the road completely and ends up plowing right into the middle of a snowy field, where she finally comes to a grinding halt. The officer approaches the vehicle, not sure precisely what to expect. It turns out that his suspect is a rather attractive woman.
Hello. How are you?
The officer demonstrates concern for her well-being.
I mean, I've been behind you. I can't believe you didn't wreck when you ran through those railroad tracks.
And even tries a bit of flattery.
You must be a pretty good driver.
The cop asks the woman to get out of her car.
Why don't you take your seatbelt off and come on out?
And offers the woman support as she exits her car.
Now, you're in a field, so yeah, I'm going to help you out here, okay?
He helps the woman out of the snow and begins to ask her a few questions.
What's your name again?
And even feigns interest in her family life.
I got 2 girls in OSU.
Is that right?
Yes.
But finally, the officer cuts the small talk to make sure she doesn't pose a threat.
Sherry, you got any guns or knives or anything on you?